All right, guys, we are here at Goats with Horns Animal Sanctuary in Arizona. Yesterday, one of our ducks came down with botulism. His name is Elvis. In the past, when we had a duck get botulism, it took just about 24 hours by the time symptoms set in until he had already passed away. We learned a lot last time. We worked with wildlife rehabilitators and a couple of duck rescuers out of state who unfortunately had a lot of experience with this. And right now, Elvis is inside being treated. He is alive for now. Good morning, Princess, which is a really good sign because he hasn't seemed to get any worse. And like I mentioned, it's an extremely fast progression when they come down with this. So because this neurotoxin thrives in warm, wet, stagnant water, it's the perfect time of year, summertime in Arizona for that to happen. We have little, those little baby kiddie pools that we use for the ducks, like similar to this one here. We had one in this hole. This is Elvis's stall here. He's inside getting rest and treatment. He needs treatment every 3 hours. I was just gonna, no, go ahead. Yeah, um, every 3 hours he will rotate between getting charcoal mixed with electrolytes, and then he'll get some baby parrot food. So right now, what Talia and I are doing is kind of doing a deep clean on his stall. Botulism can be hard to kill, but it can't thrive and it can't grow in an acidic environment. So we have a couple gallons of vinegar. We're soaking his pool, his water. She poured a bunch of vinegar down here. We do need to kind of keep his little pool as like an in-ground pool, just because we need to have it an in-ground pool for when the ducks get older. They have a hard time lifting themselves in and out of even just a little kiddie pool. And so this is the stall that we have dug out. So if you'll kind of notice, the edges here are moist and damp. We have already been pouring vinegar all along the perimeter. And in a minute here, I'm going to just kind of set the camera up in here so that everyone can see us kind of just spreading the vinegar out. And maybe later we might get a chance to pop in and see Elvis. We don't want to really disturb him, as we did just give him his treatment, his charcoal and electrolyte treatment, and that's really stressful on him. He doesn't like it, and we have to be careful. We didn't want to like hurt his beak, and we kind of have to force that down for him. So we have a couple other ducks here, Bruno, Mars, and Clyde. And we are trying to, like I said, make sure that this doesn't spread. It's not a contagious disease or sickness per se, but once the little toxin, if it has gotten into the soil or the water, which normally the pools are sloshing all around, we kind of give them these little showers with the hose. And so the water is flowing in on both sides. We don't want that to happen. So we're not wetting down the stalls with water today. We're just going to be using the vinegar to just kind of spread out and hopefully just create an environment that the botulism will not be able to grow in. Another way to get rid of botulism is to boil it for 5 minutes, but we can't really boil an entire stall. And as it is supposed to be around 114, 115 degrees Fahrenheit here today, we also don't want to be putting out more extreme heat. Even if we were to, kettle by kettle, try to just continuously pour, boiling water all over this area, it's really probably not the better option. So you can see everyone else here is just doing their thing. Snowy's having some breakfast. Esperanza's already done. There's Albert. I'm not exactly sure how susceptible other animals are to botulism, but because the other animals don't really come into the duck stalls, and they don't hang out in, the water. None of these guys enjoy, swimming or standing in pools or anything like that. In the past, when, like I mentioned, we did lose a duck to botulism, it was very strange that the other duck in the same stall as him didn't get the botulism because they were sharing a pool, sharing water. But we kind of, as Talia put it, we were going down like research rabbit holes last time this happened, and yesterday again when Elvis popped up with signs. And I've also read certain things that it's possible that sometimes a cockroach could have encountered the botulism neurotoxin. And, we are outdoors, of course, so there's tons of crickets and little cockroaches and all kinds of little bugs. When I moved his little dog house over because we wanted to pour some vinegar over here. There were just tons of those little potato bugs or pill bugs or whatever you choose to call them. But it's possible that maybe a little cockroach that had encountered the neurotoxin, got in and did, get eaten by Elvis. And on one hand, we're kind of hoping it's something like that, and it's not like something that is in the soil or, contaminated in this stall. It makes us really worried because the other duck that passed away, he did live in this stall, but it's been almost a year now. So we're hoping there's not a connection, but it is something that we're thinking of, which is why we're taking these precautions of trying to sanitize the stall. Basically what happened yesterday is we saw Elvis acting totally normal in the morning. Like I said, it's an extremely fast progression, and he was totally fine. And then a couple hours later, we realized we had forgotten to put some food down in his stall. So we came back, and Teresa noticed he was just like laying down, like kind of sitting, and he didn't really move even when she got really close to him. And he's not like a snuggly duck. So it would have normally, if we get really close, they kind of quack at us and walk away. And he didn't do that. So she, kind of bent down, and she saw he tried to walk, but it was like he was kind of just scooting his body around. And at that point, she picked him up, and she was checking his feet, and she's like, hey, I think there's something wrong with his feet. And so I go to look, and then she put him down again, and he was not able to support his body. And so that's like the first sign. Botulism, the neurotoxin attacks the nervous system. So the first thing is that it will make it so they're paralyzed. And then the next thing that happens is their wings aren't able to, flap very well. Oh, see here, there's just a bunch more little bugs. I don't think that those bugs are ones that carry the neurotoxin, but just in case, we're kind of just, eliminating. Yeah, we don't need it in here for now. We don't want sitting water for mosquitoes either. So maybe we'll even take that out, and like we can even scrub that, might as well. Yeah, like I said, after their wings stop working, just since we're talking about something sad, we'll look at something happy like Nala having some hay. But after their wings stop working, then it usually goes up to their neck, and their neck will kind of twist back, and then it eventually attacks the respiratory system. So it basically paralyzes the lungs, so they can't breathe and they suffocate. And it's the only grace is that, like I said, if that does happen, it's usually very, very fast. You often see things like a local news article will say something like, 50 ducks found dead at local pond, suspected botulism outbreak. Because another thing that happens is as soon as the first duck passes away from botulism, and usually, like I said, because they get paralyzed, they usually wind up getting stuck in the pond or lake. They're spend so much time in the water, and then they go to get out, and their legs aren't working, so they sit there. They eventually do die, and at that point, the neurotoxin kind of takes over the carcass, and it starts just pumping the botulism neurotoxins into the water, and that makes it so that the next little duck or goose that hops into the pond is more likely to come down with it, and it's just this vicious little cycle. So like I said, we are just trying to take some precautions this morning. It's not the happiest live stream, but it is real life. It's only 5:30 in the morning here in Arizona. We got here just a little bit after 4. Normally we don't start getting here till 5:30 or 6, sometimes later, but it was coming up on Elvis's rotation to be given medication again, and so we wanted to get here as early as we can just to give him the best fighting chance. Like I said, at this point, his legs are still not completely working. He cannot stand or support his body, but he is able to kind of scoot around just a touch. And that's a night and day difference between our last poor Dewey that got botulism. By the time we found him, his legs already couldn't work at all. And like I mentioned, by the next morning, he had died. So it was good that we do have wonderful supporters on our Patreon, and as well as people that donate to fundraisers and things like that. So we're able to always keep these things on hand. We hope that we never have to use activated charcoal, baby parrot food, and a bunch of syringes. But the fact is, after the last time, we stocked up on these things just in case it happened. We knew we'd be ready. Same with the Electrolyte Rescue 911 powder that we've been putting into the chicken waters to combat the high heat and extreme temperatures we've been getting here. We also are mixing that into, or we're using that to mix the activated charcoal powder into for him. That was another thing that, we got a little bit of it and we thought, you know what, let's just stock up. Let's get, 4 boxes to keep on hand. Each box will treat 45 gallons of water. We go through a lot of water here. Hopefully it lasts for a long time, but if it doesn't and it's able to help these animals, then that's what it's going to do. That's what it's here for. That's what we're here for. And we're trying to just give the best life to the animals that are entrusted to our care. And, we can't do that alone. We need volunteers and donations. We are a nonprofit, and we just appreciate everyone who tunes in and comments and shares and follows along with these great animals' journeys. I hope to see you guys soon. We might put the live stream camera up in a little bit, just kind of showing the field. You'll probably just see us walking by a bunch of times. But anyways, thanks for tuning in, guys. Hopefully next time we'll have some good news. And everybody stay cool if you're in a part of the world where it's summer, and stay safe.